We are gathered together this afternoon, I might say this rather beautiful afternoon, with the weather cooperating. We gather to mourn, to express our love for our dear Warren Stephen Berman, called to his eternal home on Tuesday. We come here this afternoon to perform what Judaism calls the greatest mitzvah, the greatest commandment, Gemilut Chesed Shel Emet, a true mitzvah, true kindness, because we are taking care of dear Warren's final needs, Ba'aretzot HaChayim, in the land of the living, in a way that Warren cannot ever say thank you to us. So Judaism calls this the greatest, the most important mitzvah commandment. Without further ado, I want to turn to our liturgy, our ancient prayers that come cascading down to us over millennia of thousands of years. Prayers written by King David and others that give us comfort and consolation. At a time like this, I'd like to begin with Psalm 121, first in the traditional Hebrew, then in the English. We lift our eyes to the mountains. From where does our help come? Ezeri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz al yitei lamot ragelecha al yanum shomerecha Hinei lo yanum v'lo yishan shomer Yisrael Adonai shomerecha Adonai tzilecha al yad yeminecha Yom HaShemesh lo yakeka v'yareach b'layla Adonai yishmorecha mikol ra yishmor et nafshecha Adonai yishmor tzedekha uvoecha me'ata ve'ad olam. We lift our eyes to the mountains. From where does our help come? Our help comes from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. The Lord will not allow your foot to give way. The Lord who guards you does not slumber, for the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. The Lord is your keeper, your protection at your right side, so that the sun shall not smite you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall keep you from harm. He shall keep your soul. The Lord shall guard your going out and your coming in from this time forth and forevermore. Confronted by the angel of death, we feel our human frailty. We are perplexed. We are bewildered. We acknowledge that all flesh is like grass, its beauty like the flowers of the field. As a drop of water in the ocean are we, as a grain of sand on the seashore. So we turn to you, O God, for only you are the source of eternity. In your hands, O God, are the souls of the living and the deceased. Before I share a few words with family and friends, first we're going to hear from the family first. We'll begin with a few thoughts from Stephen, be followed by Mindy, and possibly a few words from dear Jordan.
Thank you. Appreciate everybody being here today. First, I want to just address friends. I wrote friends down here, and there's a lot of them, and a lot of faces I recognize throughout my past 50 plus years on this earth. My dad loved every one of you. I know we talked about each of you. I don't want to name any names and miss somebody out, but I appreciate everybody, driving from far and near, friends, and coming here today. And then second is family. Dad always was all about family. If you were in the family, it was kind of like our little thing, and he'd protect us and make sure he took care of things for us, and just a great dad to me and Mindy. And to the extended family, to Zoe, Nate, who's not here, Jarrett and Sadie and Jordan, and what's your name? Jacob. Thank you. Great grandfather, and all about the family. Husband, who's a great husband to you. 50 years this year. So, and thank you. Those of you who know me, I'm 55. They've been married 50 years. I'll show you my nose. So there's not really a resemblance, right? So my stepdad, but he was my dad my whole life. Since I was 4, I think. He met when I was 4, got married when I was 4. So he was my dad. And has been there for me and taught me, everything from work ethic, how to be a man, how to treat people, and formed a lot of how I am today. So, with those few words, and I'm not going to keep going. Mindy always tells me that I talk for forever, so I have a little buzzer, so if I go more than a minute, I'll turn it off. But just want to thank everybody for being here, and he was a great man, and we're here to celebrate his life, I would agree, and then I feel that the reason we're all here is, I've said the word love a few times. I think we're all here to love and be in the presence of God. So he's home now, and thank you for your time.
All right, I'm going to try my hardest to get through this. If I can't, Jordan is here to take over. I'm the luckiest girl in the world to have grown up with Warren as my... As one of my friends commented on Facebook, he was the coolest. From the minute I was born, I was a daddy's girl. In his eyes, I could do no wrong. My dad was my protector. Growing up, my mom was the strict one, while my dad was always stick up for me. But it's kind of funny because my brother and I kind of had a different view on it, as he felt my dad was actually more strict with him and kind of kept him in line. And he said that my dad would just give him that look, and when he gave him that look, he knew that he was in trouble. But I don't remember that look. I don't think he really ever gave me that look, and I told my brother that I guess he was just not as good at hiding what he was doing as I was, maybe. And although as Stephen and I became adults, it was a lot of fun to then tell my parents everything we really did do. They didn't get so mad at us then. It was kind of fun to sit around and let my mom and dad know all the trouble we actually got into when they didn't really know. But even as a young age, I could feel that my father loved me fiercely. I have the most amazing memories of him when I was little. From doing puzzles on the family room floor while he watched the Cleveland sports, to daddy-daughter trips down to the old municipal stadium to watch the Indians games. Thanksgiving was our favorite holiday. My dad would always carve the turkey and would always cut off the best piece of skin for me, which was our favorite. And every Thanksgiving, he would have to tell the story about how he worked in the cranberry bogs in Boston. Every single year, he told us that story. When I was little, I loved the song 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover, and it kind of became our song, and it was always so much fun for us to sing it together. When I went to Ohio State, if I ever needed anything, he was there for me. If I wanted to come home one weekend and I didn't have a car, he would drop everything and come down to pick me up. When I did have a car, I would call him and ask him to help me with whatever was wrong with it. And even though he was 150 miles away from me, he would help me by walking me through what might be wrong or driving down to help me fix it. He loved Darcy and Ruslan as soon as they entered Stephen and my lives, and they were immediately treated like family, although maybe sometimes that wasn't such a great thing. And from the moment his first grandson Nathan was born, he became the best papa ever. He was so proud of all 6 of the grandkids and loved to be with them whenever he could. Even with my friends, he loved them and treated them all like his own, and I have so many friends who called him Dad number 2. He and my mom had so many friends. My mom even said she's sure it was because of him. He was loved by everyone there was, just something about him. He was a pretty laid-back, half-his-glass-full kind of guy. He would often tell me that he tried not to let things get to him, especially things he couldn't change. Once something happened, it happened, and getting mad wouldn't change that. So just deal with it and move on. Now, don't get me wrong, he definitely got angry about things, especially more as he got older. But when I was younger, I just didn't see it very often. He and I are similar in that way. If you ask my kids, I'm sure they would agree that I am the more laid-back parent and I don't get as upset about things as Ruslan does. He had a great sense of humor that was still showing up until the very last minute. The story that I now like to tell everybody, this just recently happened on Sunday after we brought him home. He had an oxygen tank that was actually had to be plugged in, and I was trying to plug it into a different outlet to kind of move it. So I told him that I'd just unplug it for a second and plug it back in, and after I unplugged it, an alarm went off, and in true Warren fashion, he goes like that. And that's kind of how he was literally up until the very end. It did definitely make my mom and I laugh. I could go on and on about what amazing father, husband, papa, brother, uncle, brother-in-law, father-in-law, and friend he was. But you're all here, so you already know that. Do you have something? Okay.
You summed it up pretty good.
Thank you for those beautiful words, Steve, Mindy, Jordan, your support, helping Mom get through. Dear friends, our beloved Warren Stephen Berman passed on Tuesday. In the Jewish calendar, Tuesday was a pretty important Jewish holiday, Shmini Atzeret, kind of the 8th day of the holiday of Sukkot, of Tabernacles, but it's simply called the 8th day gathering, Shmini Atzeret. Why is this day special? In Judaism, 8 is a significant number. You all know the story of the biblical creation. 7 days forms the week. What happens on the 8th day? The week starts all over again. Creation starts all over again. Life starts all over again. One of the reasons that a Jewish boy's bris is done on the 8th day, not the 7th day, not the 9th day. The bris is a reaffirmation. Similarly, as much as all of you and many others are gathered today at this time with a deep sense of loss, shock maybe, and a deep sense of mourning. Once you accept, as you just said, Mandy, your dad did, once you accept that which you cannot change and try to move on, things that we cannot reverse, that we have no power over in our lives, I want to assure each and every one of you that you have a lot of reason to revive and to start over again as if it were the 8th day, the beginning of a new chapter and a new week. Why? Because you should all be feeling a deep sense of thankfulness, as I explained to you when we did the blessing over the cutting of the ribbon. We make a bracha, a blessing to God, because we thank God for the great gift of this beautiful life. Be thankful to God for the life, as all of our lives are a great gift from God, and only God has the power to decide how long we live. We should be thankful for what Warren bequeathed to you so abundantly, so liberally. The bracha that his life was to all of you, and that he will continue to be as you begin this next chapter of your lives, keeping his memory alive. Tuesday, the day he passed, right at the time he passed, Shmini Atzeret, synagogues around the world were reciting Yizkor. What is Yizkor? Exactly what we're doing now, and you're all going to do for the rest of your lives. Remembering our loved ones. Not just remembering, but performing deeds that emulate him and bring honor to his memory. I know, Mindy, you told me Dad was only 78, but we do not measure our lives by longevity, by the number of days, weeks, months, and years. My own father died at 77. My mother just celebrated her 99th birthday. Only God knows why. Rather, we celebrate that which Warren has bequeathed to us so abundantly, which Steve and Mindy, you started to refer to. A few examples. Stories of time spent with his dear sister Rena when you were young, and how your friends dangled him and almost killed him, right? But he took it in good humor, and he retained that sense of humor to the very end. Stories of Grandma's house in Winthrop, Massachusetts, where he would watch the hurricanes from across the ocean. Stories from being an Air Force vet from the Vietnam era. Stories from when he worked in the TV industry, Channel 61 in Cleveland, and then in the lighting industry. Stories of his many, many friends he cherished, which you referred to, Steve. Many card games he loved to play, traveling, avid sports fan, both Boston teams and Ohio teams, NASCAR car races, and his special sense of humor till his final moments. And finally, you, his cherished family. As you said, 50 years, Maxine. Great blessing. Would you want another 50 years? Of course. Not for us to decide. Beloved Steve and Mindy and Darcy and Ruslan. 6 beautiful grandchildren. Nate and Zoe and Jared, Sadie, Jordan and Jacob, Sister Rena and Chuck, the many Thanksgivings you celebrated together, the many holidays you celebrated together, his favorite Passover Sedarim, the Seders. Jordan and Jacob's B'nai Mitzvah at my congregation B'nai Israel in Sylvania, where I got to meet Warren and Maxine and personally experienced the twinkle in his eye that I remember so vividly. Dear friends, yesterday in the Jewish calendar, the day that follows Shmini Atzeret Tuesday, yesterday Wednesday, Simchat Torah, the day we rejoice over the Torah, over the Bible. In the prophetic reading from the prophets, the book of Joshua, chapter 1, Moses has just died, and immediately Joshua takes over without any void, without any gap. And 4 times in the prophetic reading yesterday, God says to Joshua, Chazak ve'ematz, be strong, be courageous, be brave for the task that lies ahead, for the challenge of the days to come. And God says to Joshua, I will be with you. So now it is up to you, the family, to believe that God will be with you. God will strengthen you to the challenge of the days, the months, the years that lie ahead, beginning immediately with Shiva, right after the service, in a manner that your Warren would expect of you. Move on, mourn, but meet the challenge of life that lies ahead. And in this way you'll keep his memory alive and continue to live and emulate the best of Warren's life. And his memory will be a bracha, as his life was a bracha, a blessing. Kindly rise for the memorial prayer. Molerachami shochen b'meromi ametzim menucha nechona al kanefei ashegina במעלות קדושים וטהורים יזהר הרגיע מאירים ומסירים לנשמת רב זאב ישראל בן אליעזר אהרון הכהן ברמן שלח לעולמו וגן תהיה מנחת לכן בעל הרחמים יסתר בסתר כנפיו לעולמי וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו אדוני ונחלתו והנוח בשלום על משכבו ונאמר Amen. Exalted and compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the tzaddikim, the holy and the pure, to the soul of our dear Warren Stephen Berman, who has been called to his eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that Warren find perfect shalom in your eternal embrace, May soul be bound up in the bond of life, and let us all say, Amen. עצורת עמים פולו, כי כל דרכיו משפט. אל אמונה וינבל צדיק וישרהו. עצורת עמים בכל הפועל, מי יאמר ותפעל, השליט במטה ובמעל, ממית ומחיה, מוריד שאול לבייל. עצורת עמים בכל המעשה, מי יאמר ומה תעשה, אומר ועושה חסד כי נם לנו תעשה, ובזכותן אכד כסה, הקשיבה ועשה. צדיק אתה אדוני להמית ולחיות, אשר בידך פתאום כל רוחות, חלילה לך זיכרוננו למחות, ויהיו עיניך ברחמים עלינו פקוחות, כי לך אדון הסליחות והרחמים. אדוני נתן ואדוני לקח, יהי שם אדוני מבורך, ורקום יכבר עוון ולא ישחי, וירבה לישיבה פה ולאהוב יאיר כל חמתו. Yea, though we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, we fear no harm, for you are God, you are with us, your rod, your staff, they comfort us. You prepare a table before us in the presence of our adversaries, you anoint our head with oil, our cup overflows. Ach tov v'chesed, surely goodness and loving kindness shall follow us all the days of our lives, and we shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Join together for the mourners Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rama, be'alama divrach yedutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayei u'v'yomei chon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ha'agala u'v'zman kari v'yimeru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevarach, לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתהלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דא אמירן בעלמה ויאמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. May the God who creates peace in the heavens above grant peace to all who mourn for Warren, especially the family. And let us all say Amen. Dear friends, our final mitzvah, our final act of loving kindness before we depart from the cemetery is to throw a shovel of earth. You'll see me hold the shovel backwards. Why? Am I reluctant to do this? Well, it's got to be done. It's a great mitzvah. I hold the shovel backwards because it's made out of steel. In the olden days, steel was used to make the head of an arrow. Arrows pierce the heart. This is an act of ultimate love, an act of gemilut chasadim. I'll ask the immediate family first to join me, the grandchildren, and then friends.
This earth bucket is also available for you if you'd like to throw some through.
Shovel, you can use your hands.
Yeah.
Here we go.